Well, hello everyone. Thanks so much for joining us for The Invisible Man. It looks like our audio for the video actually did not go through. We thought it would, but it didn't. So apologies there. So I can sing if you like. The Invisible Man. There we go. A little bit of introduction. So thanks for joining us. We're a little bit late as usual. It is, of course, a Saturday when we're playing. We're doing the Invisible Man show. Technical difficulties will abound. And now, you ready for introductions, Ryan?
Sure. Why not? Let's give it a shot this time.
Okay, off you go.
Well, everyone, this is. Am I doing you or am I doing me?
Yes, you're doing
okay, I'm doing you. All right. So that is Mark David Stallard. He uses his middle name even though he doesn't have to.
And this is Ryan Janz. His middle name is also David, but he doesn't use it even though he should. And we are It's All in the Mind. Best we've done in a long time. High five.
Right on.
Yeah, we go, right.
Mostly because it doesn't work out usually when I'm broadcasting from home because of lag.
Okay.
So that's my excuse.
Okay, so we've got Phil. Colorado Phil will be joining us in about 10 minutes or so. It's going to be a fun show. We have Luce from Load is going to join us in just a second. So don't forget, whatever format you're watching this in, whether you're watching it live or not, like, subscribe, share, and all that other good stuff. So our special guest, very special guest, is a very special lady from this town here, Winnipeg. It's going to be a lot of fun. So this is Luce, Carrie Luce Forsythe, aka Luce from Load. She is a Canadian. Here we go. She's laughing at me. As a Canadian singer-songwriter from Winnipeg, she fronts a band.
Punk rocker. She's a redneck. She's a hillbilly. She's a Canadian. She's a girl.
And she's also fronts a band called Load. It's an ambient pop alternative band.
And I may live in Winnipeg part-time, but I'm not from Winnipeg. I'm a West Coast girl, born and raised in British Columbia.
You know what? I'm just gonna put you on the screen. There we go. If you're talking, you may as well be seen, right? So much for my professionally written intro. So you're a lady of many talents. With the first band, Load was the first band to go to South by Southwest Festival in Austin, Texas, which is something I think all musicians want to go down there and get involved
we
in
got
that.
to go twice, actually.
Yes, 2017 as well.
I mean, literally 20 years later, that's an amazing accomplishment. I don't know how many bands in the world can say that they opened up South by Southwest and they closed South by Southwest. 20 years later.
Opened and closed.
As long as it wasn't the same show. Right? If it was a different set. Yeah, okay.
It had a little longevity.
So we're good. Let's see. So you played for the private inauguration party for Randy Bachman at the Canadian Music Hall of Fame after the Junos. Private parties, was it, bits CD behind there, some naughty things going on?
There's always naughty things going on, but that's my CD.
Yeah.
I can't even get it.
Yep.
There we go.
I have the weirdest camera situation. Look, I'm just moving it and it's moving.
Yep, we've got a good picture. We'll put that up on the screen in a bit. So we've got a nice clear high def pic. And let me see. So you've, I think that's probably good for an intro. I think people realize who you are. You've got a new CD coming out, Loose Overload. That's already out. Sorry. And there we go. So that was my introduction, all professionally planned. And ready to go.
I will never without a hitch. And we're streaming here from Mexico, from our home in Loadside Studios in Mexico. So I'm really excited to be involved in this.
Yeah, that's great.
In Colorado, this is a pretty global podcast. I like it.
Yeah, it was good. Actually, we had what's on the week we had Northern Ireland and Great Britain as well.
Yep.
On our Musical Maya show. So
we get a couple of fans coming in from there.
Yeah,
I haven't seen any. We've got some viewers, but nobody I know yet, so it's not showing up.
Right.
So
happy to thank you everyone else out there for joining us.
I can't see anybody. Hopefully there's some people I know.
Well, it's usually my job to call out everybody who comes and joins us on there. So eventually I'll interrupt and say hello to people who are joining. So I guess without further ado, we'll just get right into it.
Sure.
So
the notes are on the screen.
Yeah. Notes are there. I've got notes here.
Yeah,
We've got notes there.
We've got lots of notes.
They're
We're
everywhere.
prepared for notes.
We're good for that. So I guess we'll start off with the CD. You might as well start off with the CD because that's I have been shamelessly plugging your CD for the last since you committed to being on the show. What was that? 3 weeks ago.
Yeah, a
So
little longer.
about that, right? 3 or 4 weeks, somewhere around there. So I had to wait a week because I needed. So there it is up on the screen. Loose Overload by Load. So every once in a while, you come across those albums that you just throw on, and they become like your summer album. This has become my summer album. It's
the best summer album.
of course, and it makes sense, right? If we got Mexico involved in recording and part of that, it makes sense. Summer Mexico works great. So I actually did a little bit of comparison here because I wasn't sure what to expect. I never know what to expect. Sometimes it's really easy to sort of pick it apart. We had Dolly Dunn on 3 or 4 weeks, just before you came on, about a month ago, and it was real easy to pick. I bet you she's a country artist, right? And you listen to her music. Yes, she very much is a country artist. So I knew exactly what to expect, right? So, Mark, if you throw up that picture on the on there, so there's a picture of Carrie. There's a picture of Carrie there, right? And so I saw that picture, and I was like, "All right." So immediately, what came to mind is Joan Jett, Pat Benatar.
Afro is like my idol, and Blondie. You know, Load started as a Blondie cover band.
Wow, okay, good.
We were in Load until we started only playing Blondie tunes, just because that's what we all do.
All
and
right.
then we started writing tunes, and Load evolved from that. But we were a Blondie cover tune, and I used to do a guest little spot in a Winnipeg band, punk rock band called Fudge Tongue back in the late '80s, early '90s, and we used to do Pat Benatar, "Hell Is for Children." So there you go. So every one of those are spot on in my life.
Okay, so that's just by looking at the picture. I hadn't downloaded or got your album yet because I bought it on off Google Play just because right. So hopefully you get more than a couple bucks for that. So if we actually go, and then I give the CD a list or the album a listen because I drive a lot for my day job, so I can just throw it on as a as something as I'm listening to as I'm driving. So what I pulled out of it is if you throw up what I heard is a combination of these three artists. So Dusty Springfield.
I don't know who they are. Oh, is that Gwen Stefani?
Gwen Stefani and Dusty Springfield are the two on the top. And then the songwriting styling, sort of that storytelling of Janice Ian. And that's kind of what I heard, right? So
anybody's ever said to me.
Well, and here's why I say that. There's a particular song on your album called Worship. I got it good. So when I heard that, I immediately thought of Dusty Springfield. That's the black and white photo up in the I guess it's the top. It'd be the right hand, I think.
This one.
Well, yeah.
You're seeing it the way everybody else
okay,
is.
so the top left. And if you listen to a song, you can all look it up on YouTube. It's called Spooky. It starts off very similar to the way. And yeah, so you know it, right? You may not have known that was Dusty Springfield, but so I immediately thought of that. But then there's this quality to Gwen Stefani's voice where you don't have to see her, but you can sort of tell that the way that she's emoting, she's smiling, she's doing something. And I could hear that through the way that you were singing in that song, right? So I'm driving from Winnipeg to Steinbach, and I've probably listened to the song about 5 times and just dissecting it, right? And just that sort of surreal, not quite folky, but like just narrative storytelling throughout some of your other songs. That's where I make the comparison to say Janice Ian and some of the other like really strong. And also Janice has a very unique, powerful voice, which it doesn't necessarily come through on Worship, but a few of your other songs, particularly there's one where it starts off, ooh, you should have trusted me, like that. Oh man, just that really long hit and the guitar following the melody. It just like punches you, right? Like right in the gut. So
sometimes.
Yeah, and so that. So I'm sorry, I'm trying not to go too fanboy here because Carrie, I could interview you.
Luce is amazing. We love Luce. Luce
Right
is
on.
great. That's all it's going to be.
Yeah. So anyways, but I really just enjoyed it. And it's just, again, I was expecting, just because based on that photo, I was expecting, okay, a little bit of Joan Jett, a little bit of Heart, a little bit of Pat Benatar. Okay, grungy, good. I'm ready for that. And this album wasn't that. And I was like, but it wasn't a bad thing. It was like I really like this.
Another one, Load's got 4 CDs now.
Mm-hmm.
So if you went back into a CD, you might feel like that. But we've evolved from the 3 CDs. And actually, this one is our first CD, Delicates. That has to be the most special because we did it first and we started everything with that. And we didn't have much help on that one, actually. It's pretty raw load. And then we got involved with producers and ideas, and our music evolved, and we got to work with people from all over the world. It's been remarkable. And then the third CD, I never thought we would do because we didn't do it with our original guitar player, and that was bittersweet for us. But Johnny Stewart, a longtime friend and comrade, stepped in, and we wrote that album, and it's stellar. It's the best one, of all of them. And then this album came about, and it's really... it has my mark on it. These are songs that I wrote or developed or chose as cover tunes. There's a couple cover tunes on the CD that are wonderful, I think. And the whole vibe, the whole sound of it actually is the epitome of Load. Every single person in Load since 1997 appears on this album.
Oh.
New and old. It's really beautiful.
Oh. Excellent.
Well, that's great. We do have a couple of people joining us that I have seen. Jessica Reeve, my lovely and wonderful wife. Thank you for joining us. Probably my biggest fan, and I should hope, anyways. And our good friend all the way from Ireland, Catherine. I'm not even going to say your name because I will screw it up. Thanks for joining us, Catherine and Jessica. Anybody else who's not, friend me on Facebook so I can call you out.
Okay, excellent. So the band lineup has been fairly fluid. Was that intentional from the beginning to bring other people in, or was that something that just kind of happened over time?
I have to. This is a shout out to the band. This is about the men that play in Load. They're so talented. Every single we have a core, a nucleus that has been together since the very beginning, but for some reason, we attract the most amazing musicians from across North America and Europe. I mean, we've had Jimmy Barr from Portishead featured in our last CD. We work with Dale Wallace from Emerson Drive. We have wrote songs with Glenn Willows from Harlequin, Richard Duguay, who's performed with Guns N' Roses and his own Richard Duguay experience. We have been so lucky to have people that want to play with us. So without trying too hard, we've been able to attract some really amazing musicians. And myself as the singer, I get lost in the music of Load. It's so charismatic, and it's so dramatic, and it's so ambient too, It's there, and it doesn't sound like anybody else. It sounds like Load. And every song from every album, you can tell that's us, and you can tell it's nobody else. And so that's like the most exciting thing for me. We put our mark on things, and people respond. You know what? We probably have more fans that are musicians than the general listener at this time. We have a large following of really talented people.
Oh, absolutely. I could see that. Actually, one question that sort of just comes to mind, because I get these. I never anticipate any of these questions because I'm a bad host that way. Your singing process. Obviously, you've got a very unique, powerful voice because it really comes through on your stuff there. So this is sort of a twofold question. Have you done a lot of training or background in singing, or is it just something that you've done and just sort of comes naturally? And second is, when you go to write this song, now you said this album, Loose Unloaded, is particularly you, so it's got mostly your fingerprints all over it, stuff you're writing and whatnot. Do you find it's easier to write your lyrics or your melodies first, or does that just sort of come organically as you play together with your band?
That's probably that question is the foundation of how this album came about, because I'll say generally, the guitar player and bass player, either together or individually, bring a lick or an idea, right? And then we develop it, we work on it together. But the songs on this album, I brought the idea, whether it was the melody or I wrote all the lyrics and had to express that and get that across. And I have to give a shout out to Jimmy Creasy, who produced this album and plays a lot of guitar tracks on it for me, because he could understand exactly what it was that I wanted to get across. And because I don't play guitar, I don't read music, I have to express myself in ways besides words, sometimes with ideas, with motion, with things. And even in Load, the incarnation of Load right now that features Kyle Hauser on guitar, and he's the glue of Load in this moment. These guys can understand music, sounds, feelings, emotions. And so I've been able to just be me, and they vibe off of that, as Phil would say. You know, Phil likes to vibe off of things. And so together we write songs. These particular songs, I either wrote the melody and then brought the lyrics, or I brought the lyrics and the band wrote it. Other songs that we do, it's usually the band and then I sit with them afterwards. You know, it's all individual.
So it's, I mean, could you you can't really pin down any one song that, or any one method that you use. It's really just each of the songs that kind of grow kind of organically.
I do, you know, because I've been driving somewhere and I have to pull over and sing into my BlackBerry or something because it could be I heard something and that inspired a little different lick and I want to remember it. I could be if I get inspired, I'll open up GarageBand or something, you know, on my computer and just get a few vocal lines down. And then I can mess around and I can create some sounds. You know, the last song on the new album is basically just me singing a cappella. It's a song that I wrote with the help and design. And it was immediately picked up by Lollybox Productions, which does film and movie soundtrack placement. And that's something Load has a lot of experience in now, from artistic short movies and feature-length films. We've been involved in soundtracks, and my goal for my next album would actually be to write a soundtrack. I think that would be amazing to work on it from the very beginning to the end. And just instead of having things chosen out of the blue, I'd love to be able to put my mark on that.
Now you have one of your the tracks on there. I think is it licensed or optioned for a movie. I'll try and look at my notes here. There we go. So Sun Up, Sundown.
Yes,
yeah, so you've had that signed with Lollipop Music to their international. So that's putting that out there. That they think you're good, and that's good enough for music, for movies and TV and whatever.
Yeah, and so they've asked for more music from us, which I'm very excited. That will get underway next week, and of course on the 27th we have a big show coming up in Winnipeg for the documentary, and that's just like a fun show anyway. That's the documentary. We can't wait. It's going to be a ball.
There we go. That's on the 27th.
That's right.
There we go.
My God, the exact same script. Nobody goes in my legs.
Oh.
Well, that's all we've known you.
Yeah.
In fact,
that was just a little sneak peek. It's
just a pair of legs that have been on your profile.
I don't do much singing. I just stand there.
Oh, and of course I've lost all of my notes now. There we go. And my glasses. Oh, it's getting. There we go. Thanks, Phil. Thanks for your support.
There he is.
There we go.
Phil's just sitting back and laughing at us, which is pretty normal for the show.
So what's the Canadian homegrown documentary about?
Are you asking me or Phil?
I'm asking you.
We're going to ask you. And
unless Phil knows more than you do.
I don't know if Phil really is up on what's happening in Canada these days. He snuck away on us. But the homegrown, it's a very interesting documentary. There were some bands from Manitoba that were chosen because of their careers, mostly because they're not signed bands. It's a documentary about unsigned bands and what happens in our country and North America, on radio in particular, and how almost impossible it is for young bands and old bands alike to break through into a certain part of our industry. And for me, I'm a big supporter of Canadian content. I love Canadian music, particularly like 60s and 70s music, as you'll see in some of the cover tunes that get chosen by Load and how we perform. And I just think Canadian music's the best. And there was a time that radio supported Canadian music in a vast uniqueness. And today it's just the cookie cutter type of thing, and no room for local bands or independent bands on the radio. So it's a documentary about that and all the things that we have to do outside of getting support from our own, radio stations. And I might say that out of this documentary, I don't know if I'm speaking on a turn, but a new radio station is coming for us. It's going to be all Canadian, particularly there's going to be one in each province, I think. So we're going to be doing an all Manitoba radio station here, and some really cool things are coming out of the documentary, not just complaints. Okay. I think it started out as a bit of a complaining documentary, and it actually turned into creating some really beautiful solutions for 2020.
Nice. So is that terrestrial radio or internet radio? Is that like a real...
It's web-based for now, but they're actually talking with the CRTC and doing some things like that.
Okay, that'd be exciting.
No, that's really good.
Yeah, because up in just so you know, there's 4,400 Manitoba musicians registered in the province of Manitoba. So honestly, 4,000 registered web pages, acts, music, videos. How are we not tapping into that in each province and working a show with our own people and supporting our own people? So that's what we're going to try and do. And it's because of people like yourselves, and particularly Phil Dupuis, Colorado Phil, however you know Phil, our friend, you guys are the glue, and that you're changing it for the local musicians. You're helping them, and that's important. And God bless you for that. I just want to say.
Oh, thank you. It's something that we've been passionate about. In fact, we had you'll recall, the University of Manitoba had a radio station. It was a wonderful radio station. It had lots of...
I was guest host on that radio station.
I listened to it all the time, and it just suddenly disappeared. I think there was some politics going on in the background. But
93.3. No, they had their own sort of set of politics that they were working through, and they had a couple of hosts that just didn't do fill their paperwork out properly so that artists could get paid through the CRTC. Now again, college radio doesn't pay a whole lot, but you still have to register what you've played. So they would either through ignorance or just out of stupidity wouldn't file their stuff properly, and then eventually the station got shut down. They just said, no, we're not going to do it anymore. But you still have CKUW, you still have UMFM that are going strong, but they're the only place that you can get local. I think there's
and it's not. I mean, and the independence is less. There's not very much on there at all.
You tune in the right time, and you're going to hear some really cool independent stuff. I find that UMFM is really good for that. CKUW, depending on the host, will do that. But I find that CKUW, because it's right downtown Winnipeg, if you're not into 20-something-year-old university hipster kid stuff, you're probably not quite the radio station for you. And I kind of had to walk away from that because I'm a dad now, and it's just I'm going to be 40. So
there is a load. No.
So.
So just going back to the documentary there, was that a project that you were brought into, Luce, or was that something that were you involved in getting that started, or?
No, I didn't get it started. I think that we were the first band that was maybe chosen for when it came about. So fortunately, we've had a little bit of input, we'll say. Certainly not our project. It's not our control, but we've had a little bit of input, hopefully, into what's happened after in our career and how we can help other people in the future and help ourselves. We want to play music, we want to play and fulfill our goals and dreams, right? But we also want to bring everybody along with us, and we hope that other people, are proud to be standing with us.
Oh, excellent. So where would we expect? I can't talk, can I? Where would we expect to see the documentary? Is it something that's going to be on TV or online?
it's a feature-length movie.
Okay.
I don't know where the distribution is, to be honest.
Okay, fair enough.
Ken Loxton is the man in charge of that. He's from Winnipeg. He's done remarkable stuff. He's even worked with Willie Nelson and other huge stars doing video work. So we're excited at the process of what's been happening and where it's going to go. Lode's actually going to film a couple videos starting in 3 weeks. A couple in Winnipeg and a couple in Mexico, and Ken's going to be involved in a few of those too.
Okay.
So
Nice.
we've been really enjoying working with Ken.
Okay. So there, you got four bands are appearing on stage with you on the 27th at the Bulldog Event Center. That's on the screen there. How many bands are involved in the documentary? Is it just the four, or is there many more?
4 of us.
There's
I
four. Okay.
believe there are some supplementary bands that are being interviewed, but I don't know if they're being filmed. Our performances are being filmed. We're going to be, we're speaking and being interviewed for the documentary, and however that gets edited and put together, I'm not sure. But
And I guess on this topic, I have one question written. The answer might be no, but do you have any juicy behind-the-scenes stories of making of the documentary?
Or those out for the extras on the DVD?
Yeah. This is a hard one for moving on the camera for a second, because really, no, there's no juicy gossipy things yet, but we're stupid on the stage of these things, and we have so many problems, and Kyle in particular. Kyle and I are always we're full of antics, and we have little inside jokes that nobody else understands, although they're pretty clear when you use them. It's mostly just like Kyle and I being morons and laughing and doing things behind the scenes. But actually, the real ironic thing, the funny thing, and I'm going to try and be so delicate when I say this, because, as I say, the movie is kind of a complaint. It's about bad things that happen to good bands in our industry. And in the meantime, we're starting to film this documentary. And Lode is also doing a CD release. It's getting new CDs out. It's like got a lot of production stuff going on in the background. In between takes of the filming of the movie, I'm on the phone. So I'm on the phone trying to organize CDs. I'm trying to organize our CD release. I have to say that the club we, did our CD release didn't even put us on the calendar until literally 2 weeks before our show. And
I wonder if they were former managers of the Loft.
Well, I don't know about that. I'm not even going to name any names right now because we love the club, but we were not treated well. So this is what would happen. Ken would ask Kyle and I, what are the pitfalls? What bad things happen? We couldn't come up with anything. But then we'd take a break, and I'd get on the phone just to do our gig. And 3 things would come, we can't get on the calendar. We can't get a manager. The sound man doesn't want to help us on the day of that show. And we have to, you know what I mean? It's just one thing after the other. So Ken would say, well, what's hard on you as a performer? What goes wrong? What doesn't support you? And we're kind of I don't know. And then we're on the phone. It's this. We should have been filming this. This is the problem. People don't give a shit. People don't get paid enough. People are in the wrong job. Whatever it is, you were up against it in our industry, just like everywhere else. So that was pretty funny because literally, when we're asked, we don't think of the bad things. I think musicians and people in bands, they love to play. They love to make music. They don't want to have a hard time. They just want to go and maybe make enough money to have dinner that night. Nobody is a hard ass in this industry that way. But then you're up against people who just don't like you.
Yeah.
Or want something from you that you can't give in that moment. So then you're in a hard time.
Well, and it's funny because as you're saying these things, it brings back memories of me walking down Osborne Village, dropping my head into every single bar, every single coffee club, every place that I could go, say, hey, can we play on stage? Trying to broker a deal. And that was at a point where I wasn't working full time. I was just playing music, so whatever we made, I was going to support us. So I'm making pennies. I literally had enough bus fare to either get me from my house to Osborne Village or Osborne Village back home. And I don't remember what I did that day, whether I walked there and bussed back or bus there and walked back. But I was hanging posters. I was playing in 2 bands, so I'm postering for one band. I'm trying to get deals for both bands stages to play on. I've got bar owners that are saying I have to promote their bar. No, buddy, I'm promoting my band at your bar. I'll bring in people as much as I can, but I'm not filling your room. That's not my job. And you got people wanting to take advantage of you. You got people who say, no, you're not the type of music that we want. And I can't get mad at them for that. That's a fair enough answer. Maybe those band doesn't fit in that venue. That's fine. But you don't understand the independent thing. And we can laugh at it. We can laugh at those kind of things. Ha ha, that's just part of it. But when you're in the thick of it, you're like, fuck, this is the third bar I'm going to, and they're saying, no, we don't want live music.
Back in the day when Load started out, and we really commanded a very interesting scene and a time in music in Winnipeg. And we played for a particular promoter once. They're actually they're a big modeling agency now, and they do a lot of things. And they treated us so badly one night. They didn't pay us for 5 or 6 days, and they made it like it was our fault. We've never worked with them in 20 years because of that, because they treated us so poorly one time. It's like, why does anybody, if you work, you want to get paid? If there's a problem, we expect honesty. Nobody is anybody, everything is perfect. And it actually was a really successful gig, and they made a lot of money, and they tried to rip off the bands. And when you're up against that, it's like this. Do you say something and then you'll never work with that group again for 20 years? Or do you say nothing and you let yourself get ripped off and you'll never work with that group for 20 years? It's a bad situation. Mm-hmm. I'm a female in this industry. I've toured all across Canada, the United States, toured overseas. I've been treated terribly by men on the road. I've been treated pretty good as well, but I've had opportunities taken away from me just because I'm a woman too. There's a lot of pitfalls. A lot of pitfalls on the road. There's a lot of pitfalls in becoming popular, and that everybody wants a piece of you, and so then you start to kind of you fall apart sometimes. It's not an easy industry to navigate.
So just in sort of with that, what came first? Was Loose Unloaded sort of made as you were making this documentary, or was the documentary no? Because Overload. I think Unloaded is a Metallica album. Oh, sorry, you're right. Overload. I'm sorry. You're right.
No, or a Matrix spinoff.
We used to have the moniker Load on the Loose, and now it's Loose Overload. So, right. We changed a little bit, and
right.
I'm faulting you, but it is Loose Overload.
Overload.
It's a reference to a couple things. It's about me being the controlling force of Load, right? I'm Overload. And also, I've been the singer for Load for 20 years. And I felt like it was really time for me to put my mark on there. So in a little ways, it's kind of like, well, I'm over that. I'm over a lot of things. I wanna be myself in the band as a woman, as a human. I'm a mom of 3. I'm a business owner, I'm a land developer, I'm a medicinal plant expert. I specialize in 300 medicinal plants. And those are the reasons I get to write the music. It's those experiences and life things, and it's those things that allowed me to save Phil's life in, what year was that? Phil? Or can you still hear us?
Was it 2013?
2013, died, and
2013? I think so.
Welcome back to the land of the living, Phil.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Phil and I've been together a long time.
We have.
We used to have a car, a truck called the Loadmobile, and it had a Load emblem on the side, and he used to drive from town to town in Manitoba, and everyone would be like, what the heck is that?
Yeah.
Loadmobile, and they'd be like,
for sure.
Kind of obscene, isn't it? And it was like, yes.
Hey, am I on now?
You are very much on.
Welcome, Phil. I did have a theme tune and a video set up, but no one can hear it, so there's no point playing it. So,
right.
Phil, yes, the Phil's free for all. Woo!
Hi, everybody. Wow. Hey, Luce. Well, wow. Hey, it's been a year, right?
Yeah, I haven't seen active to the day.
Yeah.
So Phil's
watching-
been giddy for about a month when he heard that you were going to be on.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm like shit. Yay!
Yeah, I see you. Yeah, so for everybody watching who doesn't know, I'm Colorado Phil, the creator and host of the Colorado Phil Show. And I want to point out it is available in podcast format now on 8 platforms. Download Anchor app, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Breaker, Overcast, Pocket Cast, Radio Public, and Stitcher. And I've got really big news about the show after we've talked a little bit. Really big news about the show.
Oh, you teaser, you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
A tease for you, the audience, to hang around till the end, right? Good.
I was going
Good man.
bananas there waiting. I was just like,
You're so patient waiting for me. Thank you, Phil. Thank you.
beautiful interview, though. I loved it. See? Oops.
Now Phil can't hear us. Say bad things.
I wanted to make a point with this. This is my pussy hat that I got on the Not Your Bitch tour, and I got this as well. And I want to point out to people, Load has merch, Load has CDs, independent music artists. It's all in the mind. They have stuff. When you go to a live show, I was hearing you guys say how hard it is to get a live show going. Right? Yeah. And support your bands by fucking buying their merch. You have to. Kittenhead and The Nerve went on tour together last March. And you know what? I think they made $5 profit, but they covered their expenses just by fans supporting.
Yeah.
Buy the merch, buy the CDs.
Well, we need it, People need it. And they work hard to put that out. And it's not, well, Load is for everybody. There's no doubt about that. I almost tried to say that, maybe we're not for everyone, but we are. That's clear. That's very collateral. But not every band is for everybody, is all I'm trying to say. But you can appreciate something on the Load CD, that's for sure. There's something for everybody.
I haven't downloaded yet because I wanted to hear what all of you guys were going to say about it, to hear the hype about it. Because I'm not back there in Manitoba. Obviously, I'm here in Denver. And wow, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, we've had some nice reviews already. And this month, at the end of this month, we'll have some really neat things to be sharing with people in the start of our videos and stuff too.
Hey, I wanted to ask you, do you remember way back? At first, I think you were my Facebook friend.
Let them talk.
Sorry?
And then I got you to be my admin on We the People.
I know, you shanghaied me all the way around. You roped me into this. And you wrote
right. And then all of a sudden, out of the blue, I get an email from Luce with MP3s in there. And she just said, listen to these. I want to have your opinion. Do you remember that?
I do.
And I asked you, I said, do you want my opinion or do you want my fan opinion? And you said, no, I want your fucking opinion. And I did. And ever since then, I've been in independent music. I
know. It was an inspirational moment for you. You really got your voice with that. And then, that's a very good segue into what happened to you, because Phil and I are literally bound in life by a horrible experience that turned out okay in the end, as we alluded to. Phil had a really catastrophic moment in my presence, and we were alone in the studio, and Phil showed up at my place, and like always, I wanted his opinion on a song. I wrote a new song, and it's actually on this album, Phil. It took a long time to get up.
Oh boy, is it?
And I sang it for Phil. We were just sitting in the office. I had my computer and all my files on the table, and he sat down, and it was a very hot day in Manitoba, and Phil had driven maybe an hour in the car. So you have to understand this, that Phil was in a car driving on the highway over 100 kilometers an hour on the way to my place. And literally 20 minutes after he got to my place, he succumbed to a very bad situation. And so if it happened on the highway, if it would have happened 30 minutes earlier, none of us would be here. If Phil would have died in my office, none of us would be here in this moment. And Phil showed up at the door, and I never saw anybody quite so sweaty. He had just sweat streaming off of him, and he didn't look well. But he was coherent, and I got him a glass of water, I remember. We sat down, and you seem to be okay. And I was like, Phil, I want to sing you this song. I want your opinion. So long story short, I'm singing the song and then I finish. And right as I finish, Phil literally, he stands up and he puts his arms up in the air like, what an amazing song. That's what I think. But then he like collapses and starts groaning and like aspirating stuff out of his nose and his mouth. I'm like, I'm not trying to be gross. I didn't know what the hell was. I thought he was faking it. I thought he was like, oh, your song is so great. I thought he was mocking me. And so then I was like, Phil, like, fuck off, stop, get up. What the hell are you doing? Like, you're puking all over my stuff here. And then realized, and like also Phil was quite a bit heavier at that time. Am I right?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Almost through 260.
Yeah. And I wasn't a very big girl, and I couldn't, he was on a chair and I couldn't hold him up, and I didn't want him to fall on the floor, and my phone was in a different room and I couldn't let go of him. It was mind-boggling. And lo and behold, like, I got him on the ground and there was no pulse, there was no breathing. He had just completely stopped living. And I got so mad at him, I prayed and I gave him a right hook. I hard as I could. First in the face and then in the chest. And then he woke up for just a second. And then the paramedics came and then he coded again. And the paramedics brought him back and they're like, holy shit, what's happened to you? And I was like, the whole time I was just like, it was really, really awful. It was really awful. And I don't know if Phil knows this, but subsequently, last summer, a horrible situation happened to my own son, who was only 18 years old at the time, where he actually died in my driveway, and I had to give him mouth-to-mouth and CPR in order for him to survive until the paramedics got there. And I swear,
oh my gosh,
I hadn't gone through, and I'm not trying to make a big deal about that, things happen, but like literally people brought my son home dead. And I didn't know what to do, except that I knew what to do because
you did.
They fell. And I saved them. So there you go.
God bless. I didn't know the details. And for people watching and listening, about 90% of what Luce said, I don't remember.
But you remember some of it.
Some of it, yeah. I remember when you said, hey, are you holding yourself?
Yeah. I had to go get my phone. And you came.
And I said, go ahead.
Hold on, I got to get my phone. Yeah.
Yeah, and I slammed my head on the desk.
Yeah, you hit your head on the desk. That's what I tried to pretend that you really hit your head on the desk, but I hit my own things. But it was a very hard day. I mean, Phil wouldn't. I don't know what happened to you there, Phil, but I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, us too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you nailed it on the head there, Luce. If you wouldn't have made it, this thing wouldn't be happening right now. Yeah.
Well, I made a good move to bring the Kleenex. Yeah, no, and I also remember vaguely you shouting at the paramedics who were staring at your Mustang, the Ghost.
Oh God, yes.
Well, I was almost a ghost. And it broke my heart.
I literally, you know what? I walked out, and it's a weird thing. I don't know the rules of firemen versus paramedics, right? But the firemen got there first, and in Canada and Winnipeg, anyways, an ambulance isn't sent first. A fire department is sent first. I still don't get that. But the fire department came and they were looking after Phil, and the ambulance worker, the paramedics, were just like standing outside while the firemen were in there, but like the firemen aren't paramedics, and Phil really needed the ambulance. And they were like hanging out and checking out. I have a 66 Mustang, and any other day I'd be proud to show off the Ghost and talk about it, but I literally kicked their asses into the house. I was floored, and that's funny that you remember that because I got really upset.
I remember I also said to you, it's okay.
Yeah, you did. I think you kind of said, oh, but the Ghost is so beautiful.
Probably. I also remember making a very nasty joke just before they came in. Nobody else, I bet, has this story. They can say that Luce actually wipe the vomit off his crotch. She wanted me to look good for the paramedics.
Phil's crotch. I am so punk rock. You have no idea.
Wow. I mean, what an honor.
And a mother, you know.
And then what did I do? What did I do? I died again. And yeah, that part I didn't know either. So thanks for telling me that. And what is the name of the fucking song, my dear?
Which one?
The one I died for.
The one.
Hang on. It was called Unwanted. It was called Unwanted, and it's a song. Like now, it's called Unwanted, and it's a song actually about women's rights, and it is about the missing women in Canada, and it's about not being heard, and it's about just really being strong and doing things. And that's what I was singing to Phil, and all of a sudden, like, you know, he was like, "Oh, this is amazing."
I probably did, and
Well, with the risk of sounding flippant. So with the risk of sounding flippant, was it the song was so good that it killed Phil?
That's what I said.
Yeah.
right?
That song was so good it killed.
Oh my gosh! Yeah,
you literally knocked them dead, right?
And I had I don't know, what they call it, near-death experience.
Did you?
All it was just black, and I remember feeling that there was no more pain, all kinds of pain, and it was comfortable. You know, it was beautiful. And this voice said to me, "If you want to go back, you have to breathe." And it took just I don't know, probably a few seconds. I felt like forever, and I wasn't even worried. I was a little bit flippant, smart ass like I always am. And the voice said again, "This is real. Your diaphragm isn't moving."
Yeah,
I think that's where she cold cocked me. And poof, I came back. And I remember on the floor of the office saying over and over who I was, what date it was. Remember?
You just started repeating shit like you were in the military,
And
right?
she was, the woman was, the paramedic was getting upset.
Over and over again. I was like, when were you a Boy Scout? What the hell's going on?
And the paramedic was getting upset. I remember that. And I looked up at you and I said, "Tell her, I just want to stay."
Yeah, I know. It was good. You know, it was a good experience all around because we didn't even get in trouble for smoking pot that day.
Right.
So many things in the background. Oh my God.
And then I woke up at the hospital, and this lady is yelling at the ER doctor to do the blood test. And he's yelling back at her, "He's too young for a heart attack." Remember?
Yeah, and then honest to God, I had to like advocate for you as you did in my office, and they wouldn't even take it seriously. But it was all good. I did. I had to like unload on a few people. Unload.
There it is.
And then it was shortly after that we went to CBGB 2013.
Yeah. New York City, we did it.
And Luce Chris was my doctor. We'd be smoking around the corner, around the hotel. And she'd tell me, "Okay, 2 puffs." And then she'd tell Luke or somebody to take me up to my room.
Yeah. Two-toke Phil. Two-toke Dupuis. We just had just enough, but not too much.
Do you remember we came up in that bad neighborhood? Remember we were in the subway and we couldn't hear the speaker announcement?
We had no idea.
and you guys gotta appreciate what's the neighborhood called? The Bronx?
We were in the Bronx.
We were on the north side, too far north of the park. And our driver had said to us, "Don't go north of the park, Central Park." And here we are. We're in the fucking what's it called? Subway. And the mariachi band came on.
I remember honest to God, the mariachi band in the New York subway out of.
That was the best, right? And the announcement on the speaker, we were all like, "It sounds important," but it was all until the last fucking stop. The speaker worked.
Our
done here. We're shut down for repairs. And then these white people, and look at me. You see me with all my bling, right? The chains and every fucking thing. We come out of the subway up to the thing, and I remember all these beautiful black people sitting there, and they look surprised. And we just like, I took off the bling, and we just hightailed it to Central Park.
Well, Luke is never, Luke doesn't blend into a crowd. Luke was a football player at the time with First Nations, and he's pierced and tattoos from head to toe. It was like, that's not the image you see in New York often either. So we did make a little bit of a statement when we were there. That was a really amazing show for us. That was actually the second time Lord played at CBGB's. And I don't know how many bands can say that from Canada.
Right. And I was there that time. Oh, what an honor. I remember having a late dinner with you behind the hotel or something. There was we could see boats there.
Yeah, the arena. Yeah, there was a
Yeah. And the sun was setting, and I said, man, oh man, isn't this great? And I've always wanted to go back with somebody special.
And and then we spent that time at the 9/11 site.
Yes, we cried.
That was probably one of the hardest things we did on that trip. That was a very remarkable thing. My father being in the military and just understanding a deeper sense of those people was very.
I don't remember the doorman's name, but remember the elderly black man that was the doorman? Yeah. Wasn't he just beautiful?
He was beautiful, and when that cab burst into flames outside the hotel when we arrived, it was like
right. We were all still so paranoid. Like everybody, not just the Canadians, the Americans there, like taxi cabs, and poof.
Okay, man, I'm sorry. Me and Phil kind of shanghaied our stories. And
it's Phil's show. It's Phil's show too. We're co-hosts, so yeah.
Yeah. No, that's fine. You
I
go
was
right on
gonna
ahead.
mention too. You guys are gonna love this. We went to what's it called there? We went at night there, where it's all lit up and it's like daylight, and the M&M candy store, and in New York there, where we lost. Son of a gun.
Joelle. We lost Joelle.
We lost Joelle.
Where were we? I don't know where we were.
You know that street in New York that's like 24/7 is lit up like daytime.
Times Square. We were in Times Square.
Times Square. Remember that? I was like, what the fuck? Where'd he go?
Well, Joelle needed a little alone time. And that's fun for Everybody needs a little disappearance. But when you just disappear on your band, in the middle of Times Square, in the middle of tour, it's a little unnerving.
Yeah, because the rule was stay with your group. And you guys got hung up at the airport somewhere too.
Treat us always so good with their punk rock clothing, and we love that.
There I was with my big jug. My big jug is out.
My big jugs are in. Thank you.
Hey,
and I'm trying to reduce mine.
Toronto Airport, didn't you?
Pardon?
Didn't you guys get hung up at Toronto Airport?
Do you remember that?
I wasn't there. I moved on. I was on the plane with. You guys all
got through.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just tell. I hope we have 2 minutes because this is what happens to Lou when we travel. We are a band of renegades, of course, but we're traveling. So, like myself in particular, I try to look simple and plain when I travel. I don't try to look too crazy. And Joelle, who was with us as well, he might have been wearing a suit for Christ's sake. He looked like the average conservative couple. And then there's Luke Bell, who is, like as I said, First Nations, long black hair, tattooed from top to bottom. He is decked out in every piercing and stud and leather. He's all in black.
My brother Luke.
Yep. Luke, this flies through, no problem. Then Keith Woods shows up. Now you have to understand, Keith is in his 60s, and he was wearing. This man was, and he's got long gray hair and a long goatee and mustache, and he's wearing a cowboy hat and cowboy boots. With Daisy Duke cut off jean shorts and a velour leopard skin robe. Okay? Flies right through, walks right through. No problem. And the finished. Oh no, you're going to New York. Get over there. Well, and then they keep us right until the plane is leaving. They let Joelle go. And they leave me there, and I have to throw a little tantrum. I was like, "You guys, I'm playing in New York tonight. Like, what the fuck is this? Why are you doing this to me?" And the U.S. Customs Agency, they kind of laughed at me, you know, like I was being dramatic. And then it announced that the plane left, and I was there, and my band went ahead without me, kind of thing. And I was so bummed. And then I walked out of customs, and it was United, and the United lady came over to me and said, "They've held the plane for you, run." And it was literally in the other one. And when I showed up at that plane, do you remember? I was like...
That's why that joint was so sweaty.
And then Luke and Keith just sitting there with a drink in their hand.
Hey, that's why that joint was so sweaty. Oh my God.
Never again. I'm going to look like the biggest freak, and that's it. That's it.
You remember in the limo, in the SUV limo after the airport?
What happened in the limo? Don't tell bad stories about me.
Something sweaty was brought out, and we shared it.
Yes, I know. We made No. That was 2015.
And this happens with Phil. You never know what you're going to get, and sometimes you wish you hadn't.
Well, it's
Okay, and a really old memory. Do you remember the first time I went to your house for a meeting? Remember how nervous I was?
You mean the brick house?
Yeah.
Or my house?
The brick house. Or the first time I met Jacoby, my buddy.
And what happened?
I was so nervous, and because I was already in that, like, Ryan's boy fan, whatever, at that time, right? And he said, "No, man, you're just normal. You're fine." And then I said to you, "Namaste."
Oh God!
And you say that again, I'm gonna throat punch you. You're like, pow.
Yeah, punch you in the throat. Namaste. True story. The love of my life. He had an affair with a woman who I don't particularly like. And as she was having an affair with him, she used to say to me, "Namaste, Carrie.
Yeah.
The best of me to the best of you. Namaste." And so namaste has a little bit of
It's a no-go zone. And how many people have mistakenly thought at shows, I get the elbow, the knowing elbow, like, "Oh, Luce, eh?" And I'm like, no. we're really close, but we're not that way.
You know what? It doesn't matter who I'm seen with. I'm sleeping with them. It doesn't matter. I honestly, I have cousins and family members that I show up at places with, and literally I'm sleeping with them the next day. I just don't care. And I try to say to the women of the men in my life, like, you just can't pay attention to that. I need you guys. I need all of you on my team. You can't listen to that. But honestly, yeah, if everyone thinks we're together, everyone thinks Kyle and I are together. People think everyone.
Yeah.
You know why, though? Because when we perform and we're all together, we literally fall in love with each other.
Yeah.
Every time. When you see us on stage, Keith was really for that. Like, Keith falls in love with everyone on stage. And Kyle and I perform together as a solo, like as a duet, as well as with Load. We really strip down things, and we have our own kind of set that we do. And if you see Kyle and I, like, we don't realize it in the moment.
Yeah.
But when you look back on us, we look like we're lovers on stage. Mm-hmm. We love each other. There's no doubt. And so then people get, the impression that we're together that way, but we're not. It's the music, it's the emotion, it's our respect for each other, And we really respect the people in our lives, especially the wives and husbands of the people that work with us. And when we're on the road, we behave. And when we honor the people in our lives, that's why we've been around for as long as we have.
Yeah. Oh, man, I've been ridiculed. Nobody knows this, but I was ridiculed for working with Luce and Load.
Oh, I know.
Right from the get-go. Ridiculed. But
that was just because of your haircut. Like, that wasn't us. That was your fault.
Right. But we've been through a lot of stuff, I tell you that much. Remember that show in St. Malo?
Yes.
Our boxer guy came over.
You know what? I just asked Roland if he wanted to be in a new video, and he declined.
Just now? Oh, come on now.
Honestly, you know, people are funny, and people have other things. People don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Roland was pretty funny that night.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Yeah.
UFC, we have people from all walks of life that follow Load and work with us, and we bring them out with their videos or doing things, and it's
That
just,
would have been a good relationship.
yeah. And we're still friends. But
Yeah.
I'm moving. Do you guys ever move around in the show? Am I like,
Hey, by the way, next time I message you, don't like answer over and over again before you tell me.
what? Can you see my view? Wait, I don't know if you can capture this. Can you see it?
Palm trees.
Yes. Oh, yeah, very nice.
Nice. Oh, look at the beach.
Hey, Phil, be quiet so we can watch it. There we go.
There we go.
There we are.
That's my view today, fellas.
Nice.
Very nice. Very nice.
Anyways, I was getting a little stiff there.
Hey, you know, if you guys haven't checked out the show lately, you should, you know.
Your show?
Yeah. Here, you want to hear my announcement?
Yeah, you play Load?
Now's a good time, yeah.
I play Load. I play It's All in the Mind. I play Kitten Head. I play The Nerd. Johnny Got Rocks. All kinds of stuff.
And what I do notice is that 204 always wins.
Lately, it's been 204 all the way, yeah?
That's because I've registered about 30 Facebook accounts and I keep voting.
So starting on Monday, so everybody knows, what are you doing, darling?
You know what? My computer is about to die, so I had to just plug it. Don't worry.
So I was at the other station, and we're not going to say who. And then I jumped ship, and HDB Canada Radio, now out of New Brunswick, is my home anchor station. Starting on Monday, starting this Monday, I will simulcast live onto Virtuosity Worldwide, based out of Grand Junction, Colorado. It's internet radio, but both of my managers are strong, independent women, like not
unlike Chris.
And they have a fucking good vision that I believe in, and there's some cool stuff going to happen. So yeah, 2 stations now as of Monday.
Excellent.
Congrats, Phil. That's awesome.
And there's a potential for a station in the UK as well.
Nice.
Well,
Rock on.
Bravo.
And by Monday, I'll have Load all downloaded into the system.
Good. It's about time.
And hopefully nothing bad happens when I play that song.
No, nothing will happen because
Well, actually, he was actually asking yesterday about how do we download it, and he was trying to get an illegal copy so he could play it. Yeah.
And that's how download.
Download, yes.
Anyhow,
We're everywhere. You know, the real definition for load is a burden. A load is a weight on your shoulders.
This is what she told me the first time I met her.
Okay, so load. The band. It's the long road. It's a hard time. But loose,
And always.
and loose is when you're free, when you're loose from all your burdens. So load on the loose or loose overload really is about becoming lighter than your burdens, and that's what the band is about. When you listen to those songs, they're deep and they're dark sometimes, but at the end, there's always a little loose at the end of the tunnel.
Hey, I don't want to end this without talking about last summer.
That was awesome.
You were stressed out because I think you wanted more of a band, bigger band or something. You were disappointed about something, and I said to you, no, that's fine. This is fucking perfect.
Yeah, no, you know, the band was going to come and play. Like, it was my birthday.
Yeah.
But not everybody could make it. But it ended up 15 musicians showed up, and we just sat and jammed for the whole night. Even you jammed. And I know I promised to do video, but my phone died, and I didn't get to post that video. But we were just the people that showed up there was such a eclectic group. from hand drummers to guitar players and a bass player, and we had all acoustic instruments, and we were in the backyard and had our own blues jam.
Right, and it was beautiful. It was like Disneyland.
Yeah.
The stars were out in front of us, the Red River. I got to meet Laurie Mustard from
Laurie was there.
First time ever. Oh, that was awesome. I gotta say,
the people that show up at Carrieland and Loadside Studios, there's an interesting thing. You don't want to miss it. If you get asked to come to Carrieland, you should.
Yeah. I'm still at the end of my immigration process, so I can't travel.
I know, but Mark and Ryan can. And so when I'm back in Canada, we'll have to make sure that we maybe do a broadcast from the house, from the castle.
Sounds exciting.
Because it was our birthday month.
Yeah, it was.
And ever since I've been associated with Load and I've been friends with Luce, that's always been like a fantasy of mine to spend my.
Please leave your sex life out of this.
No, not the like of that. Not the like that.
Dear Mr. Fantasy, play us a tune.
But because it was nice, and I never wanted like a big to do, but finally,
it was your birthday.
It was
my birthday, and I didn't say anything too much, but it was your birthday. Yeah. I forgot.
That was way better than Marilyn Monroe singing "Happy Birthday" to the President.
Oh yeah, and I sang "Happy Birthday" to you.
Yeah, all night long sitting. It was. We were sitting side by each. Yep. There's a video of that somewhere.
There is. It's on a broken phone. It's there though.
It's that was a special night. I can't wait to go back.
Okay, well, get your immigration stuff in order, and then. But there's very interesting places at Carrieland. That's the name of my estate.
Hey, if things go bad there, what's the condition of jumping towards Mexico?
Well, there's Carrieland in Mexico, and then there's Carrieland in Canada. And
send me a map.
You get invited to which.
Yep.
Send me a map, and I'll go for a long walk.
Yep, we'll await the invites.
You bet.
Hey, I'm making them up.
Okay, perfect. Okay, we've been going for a little bit over an hour, so I think we probably could start closing down now. I think let's let everybody know.
Thank you so much for inviting me.
Oh,
it's a real treat for me, and its timing is fabulous, and it's great to meet you guys.
Yeah,
and
it's been fantastic.
I can't wait to do more with you all, and Phil, wonderful to see you. I'm so glad that you're doing well.
Hey, that station you mentioned, needs a show and wants to give me a job in Manitoba.
Hey, absolutely, I'll be talking to you. Right.
Fucking rights is what I say.
Okay, so. Okay, so to get hold of Luce, everyone, luceoverload@gmail.com, luceoverload.com as well. Go visit that. And put that belly button away.
Hair in your pocket?
So there you go. You got load.canada on Facebook, and you can write down that SoundCloud address yourselves. Okay, so that's them. And just so everyone knows, you can get all the information about the show, plus past shows. You can rewatch the show. Links on the invisibleman.ca. Lots of information there. You can reach me and Phil, or us actually, and Phil on Facebook. It's All in the Mind Band and the Colorado Phil Show. We're broadcasting simultaneously on both of those pages. And we're also on YouTube sometimes as well. So check that out. And Phil and I are active on Twitter, MD Stallard and Colorado Phil 1. Check us out.
Now,
there you go.
I have a request here. Phil, this is for you. You seem to really have a good beat on this social media thing. I can't seem to make heads or tails out of the poll function on Facebook. Now, we've joked about this. I have a Twitter that is basically dead. It's like the bird ran into the window and it flopped over. So I want you to put a poll out mentioning our show, obviously, as a promo. Should Ryan reactivate his Twitter? Should he give CPR to the bird and activate it? Let's see how many people say yes. And if we get enough yeses, I'll put my Twitter address up there.
Okay, how about
Can I give you my Twitter thing then to just control, because Bill used to control my Twitter for a while, and I don't even know how to log on to my Twitter.
We got shut down, hey?
Yeah, we got shut down a couple
I'm trying to think of how to put you back on there. There's a way. I just don't know how.
I'm on there. I just have to log on. I don't know what the fuck the password is.
I don't
Technology is too much for us.
I'll change it and I'll let you know.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Well, thank you very
Okay.
much, Luce, for joining us. Absolutely been a great pleasure. Phil, if I... we got things to do this afternoon. I think, like, fix the sound system.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say to
There we go. She's got better cleavage than I do.
Like
Well,
the
yeah, no, we're working on it. right?
No, I've lost a little bit of weight, so I can't compete anymore.
It's called an ex-husband.
You guys,
Okay.
this was fun. This pansexual had the best time of
That's
his
great.
and, so far.
And we'd love to have you back on, Luce. We have to
Okay,
cut it.
I want to. You know what? You need me as a co-host every once in a while. It's true.
And where's the sombrero? I thought you'd have a sombrero today.
I am not Mexican.
Oh,
And it just as an aside, I opened up a restaurant down here just because I don't like Mexican food.
oh wow.
I can't do it. Not a sauce and taco kind of person.
Oh, I have my limit on rice and beans, but
I would take the rice and beans.
There is no such thing as too much rice and beans coming from someone who
well,
lives on rice and beans, man.
My Honduran roommate may disagree with you on that one. But,
oh geez, yeah. So tell me next time I message you. Hey, I'm busy, dude.
yeah, well, I'll message you next time about that.
Okay. Well, we will continue this conversation offline. But we'll just say goodbye to the audience. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks, everybody.
And we'll catch you probably in a couple of weeks. I think we're going to be doing a benefit show for HGB Canada, who's having some financial trouble. So I figure we can have a party and invite a whole load of people on to come on and say wish them well. So we'll send out some promos about that once we've had all the arrangements have been made and we know what we're doing. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you so much, Luce, for joining us. And
catch the Colorado Phil Show Monday through Friday, 12 to 4 p.m. Pacific, 1 to 5 p.m. Mountain Standard Time in Colorado, 2 to 6 p.m. Central Time in Winnipeg and in Mexico, and 3
same time.
3 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Man, it's a fun 4-hour ride, I'll tell you that much.
Indeed
And
it is.
Luke Overload to July 27th, Bulldog event. There's a Bulldog event.
Oh, I'm going to put that picture back up. There we go. That's worth hanging around for a few more seconds there. Just people can get that down. Look at those knees.
Especially for the legs and the thighs.
The knees, yeah.
Look at them gams.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everyone. And Luce and Phil, if you just want to hang around, we'll chat after. A very big thank you. And we'll see you in a few weeks to everybody else. Thank you.
All right.
Holy invisible.